A very good morning. Welcome to this edition of News for the Hearing Impaired. I'm Rukma and with me is Rajni. Let's begin with the headlines. Delhi to go to polls today. Voting starts from 8 a.m. for 70 assembly seats. Election Commission makes elaborate arrangements to ensure hassle-free voting. Results for the polls will be declared on Tuesday. Coronavirus spread in China refuses to relent. Death toll climbs to 637. Government completely on alert in India. Union Health Minister Dr. Vardhan says 3 coronavirus cases confirmed in Kerala.Group of Ministers monitoring the situation. Visiting Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa to be accorded a ceremonial reception today. He will also hold a series of bilateral talks, including those with the President, Prime Minister and External Affairs Minister. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hails Bodo agreement as heralding a new dawn of peace and development in Assam. PM credits people's cooperation for paving the way for permanent peace. Urges all extremists to shun guns and celebrate life. An Argentine research base in Antarctica records highest ever temperature for the continent. Esperanza Base on the northern tip of the peninsula records 18.3 degrees Celsius against the previous high of 17.5 degrees Celsius recorded in 2015. In cricket, India take on New Zealand in a do-or-die encounter in Auckland. India trailed a 3-match one-day series 1-0 after losing the opening game in Hamilton. All preparations are in place for the Delhi Assembly elections to be held today. Voting will begin at 8 in the morning and wind up at 6 p.m. The Election Commission and other agencies have made elaborate arrangements to ensure smooth conduct of the polls. 90,000 government employees are deployed to manage the election. 190 companies of Central Armed Police Forces and 42,000 Delhi police personnel have been deployed to ensure fair and peaceful conduct of the elections. Over 1,47 lakh voters are eligible to exercise their franchise. This time, there are 2,32,815 young voters aged between 18 and 19 who will be using the franchise for the first time. 672 candidates are in the fray for the 70 assembly seats. For today's polls, there are a few things a voter should ensure before going to cast vote. Checking your name in the voters list, locating your polling station and knowing your candidate. All this is available on Voter Helpline app or www.nsvp.in, or you can call on Voter Helpline number 1950. Also, no mobile phones are allowed in the polling booth and voters must carry any of the 12 valid ID cards to the polling station like EPIC card, passport, driving license, Aadhaar card and so on. Voters should remember that they can vote only if their name appears in the voters list. So please check your name before going. China is taking wartime measures to stop coronavirus in Wuhan. The government there has ordered Wuhan to round up all suspected coronavirus patients as well as their close contacts in mass quarantine camps. Officials in Wuhan are now carrying out door-to-door health checks to identify potential carriers who would need to be isolated. Other cities far from the epicenter have also taken measures to keep people indoors. limiting the number of individuals who can leave their home. Meanwhile, the number of deaths from coronavirus epidemic have jumped to 637 across China. The virus has spread to 24 countries, prompting several governments to ban arrivals from China and urge their citizens to avoid traveling to the country. Some have recommended their citizens leave China. Major airlines have suspended flights to and from China. Singapore has meanwhile raised its risk assessment to the second highest level of alert on Friday as the number of coronavirus cases linked to China rose to 33. Singapore, which has one of the most confirmed cases of the mysterious new virus, raised the disease outbreak response system condition to orange, the same level it reached during the SARS outbreak in 2003. 3 more coronavirus cases have been reported on Friday that have not been linked to previous infections or travel to China. The United States has offered up to $100 million to China and other impacted countries to combat the fast-spreading coronavirus. United States has also donated over 17.8 tons of medical supplies to China, including masks, gowns, gauze and respirators. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said, this commitment, along with the hundreds of millions donated by American private sector, demonstrates strong U.S. leadership in response to the outbreak. The aid pledge comes after Beijing criticized the U.S. response to the health crisis, saying that Washington has been spreading panic by banning the entry of foreign nationals who traveled to China. At least 31,000 people in 24 countries have been affected, with more than 630 killed. Meanwhile, demand for masks, gowns, gloves and other protective gear has risen by up to 100 times, producing a severe disruption in supply. World Health Organization chief at a press meet in Geneva said this situation is exacerbated by widespread use of personal protective equipment outside patient care. He said that he had spoken to manufacturers and distributors to ensure supplies for those who need them. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday addressed a massive rally in Assam's Kokrajhar to celebrate the signing of the historic Bodo peace settlement. The PM termed it the dawn of a new era of peace and development in the state. Addressing the huge crowd, the Prime Minister assured that this agreement will lead to development and creation of new opportunities for the people of the Bodo tribe. He also used the occasion to reach out to insurgents and extremists all across the country, be it in Kashmir or in the jungles of Chhattisgarh apart from the northeast, urging them to give up the gun and join the national mainstream to celebrate life. The tripartite agreement was signed on the 27th of January. Moving on now. Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa arrived in New Delhi on Friday, beginning his 4-day state visit to India on the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He is leading a 10-member high-level delegation, including 2 cabinet ministers. After the ceremonial reception, Rajapaksa will hold a series of bilateral meetings today with President Ramnath Kovind, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. This is the first visit of Rajapaksa abroad since he took over as Prime Minister last November and underlines the continuous high-level engagement between the 2 neighbors. After his official engagement in Delhi, Rajapaksa will travel to Varanasi, Sarnath, Bodh Gaya and Tirupati. Lok Sabha saw repeated disruptions and ruckus on Friday over the former Congress President Rahul Gandhi's Danda remark related to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Congress MPs started protesting in the well during question hour as the Union Health Minister Dr. Vardhan said he would like to make a statement on the Congress leader's recent comment on the Prime Minister. One of the Congress members from Tamil Nadu, Manikam Tagore, attempted to aggressively reach Vardhan. Sensing more trouble, the Speaker adjourned the House. Later, the Union Minister said that the Congress members wanted to attack him and also demanded an apology from Rahul Gandhi. In the Rajya Sabha, Food and Civil Supplies Minister Ram Vilas Paswan said that One Nation, One Ration Card scheme will be implemented across the country from the 1st of June. Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha will continue discussion on the general budget on the remaining days of the first half of the session, that is on Monday and Tuesday. Day 3 of the ongoing DefExpo in Uttar Pradesh's capital Lucknow witnessed the signing of as many as 200 MOUs worth nearly 50,000 crore rupees so far. Day 3 also saw DRDO facilitating complete transfer of technology to private companies. While presenting several new defense products, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh said that the defense policies initiated under the Modi regime were beginning to show results. While UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath exuded confidence that the new MOUs would bring in investments of nearly 50,000 crores for the state and create many jobs. Defense manufacturing firms from across the world are participating in the 5-day event inaugurated on Wednesday by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who indicated that the country is eyeing the export target of $5 billion by 2024. An Argentine research base in Antarctica has recorded the highest ever temperature for the continent. A high temperature of 18.3 degrees Celsius has been logged, which is 0.8 degrees Celsius hotter than the previous peak temperature of 17.5 degrees Celsius recorded in March 2015. The figure was also verified by the UN World Meteorological Organization. The temperature was recorded on the continent's northwest tip, which is one of the fastest warming regions on the Earth. According to the World Meteorological Organization, temperatures on the Antarctic continent have risen by almost 3 degrees over the past 50 years, and about 87% of the glaciers along its west coast have retreated in the past 12 years due to global warming. Last July, the Arctic region hit its own record temperature of 21 degrees Celsius by a base at the northern tip in the Canadian Arctic. India will aim for quick course correction today when they take on a resurgent New Zealand in the second ODI at Auckland. Flying high after the 5-0 whitewash of New Zealand in the T20 series, India were brought to the ground after the hosts took a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series with a 4-wicket win in the first ODI. With that, we wind up this edition of news for the hearing impaired. Namaskar.